Hi, I'm Whitney. I'm here at the Bye Bye Baby location in Torrance, and I'm just about to host a panel with my husband Timmy and my two good friends Lauren and Jerry. Here we go. We've organized this panel today with some amazing people. First is Lauren Goris. So I wrote a little bit about each of them just to give you a little bit of insight. But Lauren always has the biggest smile on her face whenever I see her. Her enthusiasm and care for being a mom is infectious. She started her career as a hard news journalist and has transitioned into becoming an awesome entrepreneur, co-creator of Summer Fridays, a simple mask that leaves skin looking gorgeous whether you're hopping off a plane or just running out the door. And she's the creator of the website You and Lou.
Oh my goodness, gosh, I should hire you for PR.
Okay, next is Jerry Hirsch. So she's the creator of the website Because I'm Addicted, a friend and amazing fellow influencer who has taught me so much about clean living. She shares inspiration for a lifestyle that feels good, especially when it comes to wellness. She's a new mom to Leo, born in the spring of this year. Please welcome Jerry. Okay, so then there's Timmy. Timmy is my everything and my partner in life. I feel like I'm reading my wedding. With a background in television production and development, Timmy was the motivation and creator for our YouTube series, I Love My Baby Butt. He urged me to talk about the not so fun stuff that comes with becoming pregnant and being a new mom. So we all have him to thank for bringing this much needed conversation to the surface. Please welcome my man to the stage. In my head, I had them like come walking in like very dramatically, but anyway, yeah, exactly. So I put together a list of questions that I wanted to go through with them just so that we can just gain some insight into what it's really like to be a new mom, the hard things, the great things, just their individual journeys, you know, because we all have such different, unique experiences. I think that it really helps to find validation, also learn new things from moms that are going through different things, as well as dads, because I think it's very important to get a father's point of view. We're not in this alone, and I think it's really important to educate our men so they can feel part of the process and also support us when we need the support and not be scared of it. Okay, so this is to all of you guys, and we can kind of go in order if that's easiest. I don't want to put the pressure always on you to answer first, so we can. Okay. But basically, okay. So my first reaction to being pregnant was just like immediately being scared. Like I wasn't initially super stoked. Like I was really just like shocked and scared. Even though I knew it was possible that I could get pregnant, I was still very scared. So I just want to know like what your initial real reactions to being pregnant were.
I think shock probably for one, because we weren't trying for a really long period of time. So I think when I first found out, it was like, oh my gosh, this actually really happens. And you sort of like, you read the test and then you read it like 5 more times and you're going to the store and you're buying more and you're like, are you sure it's right? Yeah. So there was sort of that moment of like initial shock. And then I think it was a mix of so much excitement and then, also fear, because some of those things start coming in your head that you just hear from other people about, okay, your life is going to change, and will I be able to handle my career, and will I still be a good wife? And some of those fears kind of start to creep in. So I think it was a mix, but I was also so excited because it was something that I really, really wanted. So I think more than anything, I was really happy, but then kind of, as the months go by, slowly some of those fears kind of start to creep in. I actually didn't read a lot of baby books for that reason, to be honest. I almost didn't want too much information. I was like, ignorance is bliss. Yeah. I don't want to know anything.
Because then you compare yourself to everything that you read, and if it doesn't go exactly the way that it did for this other person or this book, then you judge yourself.
Right. Yeah. I almost didn't want to get too attached to a certain idea of something, while at the same time I also didn't want to be fearful of something that could happen. So for me it was better to to not know,
Yeah.
and then to just kind of take it as it came.
Totally.
Yeah.
I identify with a lot of the same emotions, but for us, it took a couple of pregnancies until we actually had a baby. So I think the first one, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm about to become a mom. And then when that didn't work out, I think after that, I was like very excited, and I just like wanted it to be healthy and
Yeah.
viable. And then I went into over prepare mode, and I like read all the books and did all the things. And I wish that like I had a brand like this to have gone to, because there's so much you can't actually have when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
pregnant.
Yes.
true.
So I had
And
a different
Google is a
experiences.
slippery slope.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
When you find out you're pregnant, you immediately Google what you can eat, what you can't eat, and so it's so great. Like I was saying, to have Bundle, who's like all organic, and you just know it's good for you, so you don't have to second guess that. So yeah, how did you feel when you found out we were pregnant?
When we found out that you were pregnant, I felt great. Like the guys have none of this, you know what I mean? I was excited to like start our family, and all the stuff that you were gonna have to go through never even entered my mind. Like I had no idea what women went through aside from just the obvious. And Whitney and I, we didn't read a lot of books or like study up on the subject, so it was all new to me. So all I felt was excitement, and like all the fear that you guys are talking about, like I got to avoid it. Like
Yeah.
men are just pretty lucky that way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Gosh.
So, what was like the hardest part about being pregnant for you guys? I know for me, the first trimester was very difficult. Like, I almost couldn't really wrap my head around the emotional aspects of being pregnant, because I was so focused in on just like how nauseous I was and how exhausted I was. So for me, like that first half of my pregnancy was just really the hardest phase. What was the hardest part for you two of being pregnant?
I think I was a little sick in the beginning, but for me it was actually the end that became hardest, because I think for so long I was going at the pace that I had always gone at. And so, and you want to be able to do everything at that pace. You want to kind of still be able to see your friends in the way you were seeing them, and go on your date nights and get your work done and work out and all of these things that I really loved. And then once I got to about 7 months, I was physically exhausted, and I realized, it was sort of the first time that I also realized, okay, motherhood is probably going to be a lot like this, where you have this grand idea of going, and then sometimes you're just sort of, it forces you to kind of pause and slow down, and it's like, okay, I've got to really take care of myself and the baby. And so it was actually like a good lesson, I think, pre-motherhood, because it did sort of prepare me, like that exhaustion and just sort of that forcing me to slow down prepared me for the fact that I wouldn't be able to go like quite at the same pace, especially when you're a new mom.
Yes, you're running as two people instead of
Right,
one. Like,
right.
You're in charge of two lives. Yeah.
For me, I feel like I had just sold a company, and I was like doing my blog for the first time on my own, and I had this like identity crisis about my career and who I was going to be if I couldn't like continue being a girl boss, and if I was going to become a mom, and who am I? My whole life I'd been like this really hardworking entrepreneur who's doing all the things and going, and it was very clear to me that was sort of fading away.
Yeah.
And I had so much pressure on myself about like what was going to be next. And I'd open Instagram and I'd see all my contemporaries like doing all these amazing things. And that was like really challenging for me. I was like separating my heart from my ego.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like that's a really good point. I like definitely went through something very similar. So.
Yeah, I think it's a huge identity crisis, especially for me after I had the baby. It really hit me a lot more. And I honestly think sometimes when you get to that point and you start questioning yourself so much, that's when it's time to go into like a social media blackout, because I think that comparing yourselves to other people is just really dangerous, slippery slope that only leads to insecurity. And yeah.
I think too, like I think to that point, everyone's timing is so different, and you
Yeah.
have to remind yourself of that. So, you know, you were just talking about you just sold the company and then became pregnant. I sort of had the opposite timing of it, where and you don't necessarily plan it. You know, when I didn't have a calendar and say, okay, I was going to start my business then and then have a baby now. It just sort of like everyone's journey is so different. But I think when you compare yourself, that's what happens. So, I mean, I remember before, you know, everything sort of went in the direction it did now, I had like so many identity crises over, okay, well, what's my job going to be? And I remember being early pregnant and like crying over things. I didn't know where I was going in my job, and I felt like, how am I going to have a baby and then build a career and all of this stuff? And then you do start kind of looking at what everyone's doing. But I think to just sort of trust whatever your timing is so helpful, because you also might have 5 kids and then 10 years after that start your dream career. And some people have their career first and then their kids. So I think everyone's timing is different. I don't even necessarily think we choose it. It kind of, in a way, chooses us.
Yeah,
So,
that's a really good point.
yeah.
Okay, Timmy, this one's for you. What did you think or view was my biggest challenge, and did you feel like ever really overwhelmed about just having to be the crutch all the time when I was having such a hard time?
While you were pregnant?
Yeah.
I think you getting exhausted at like that point in the day, I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon where you were just like, I'm done for the whole day, was probably what I thought was toughest, because then I became like a caretaker, and I didn't have a lot of experience in the role as caretaker, and so that was like, it was a challenge, and it was eye-opening for me because selfishly leading up to this point, like you live your life for yourself, and you get married and you guys are largely on the same page, but then when your loved one is on a completely different page, you realize like you need to take care of them and sort of forget about yourself, which was like a whole new non-selfish Timmy that needed to be born. So that was tough.
Yeah. Like your first foray into
Caring about
fatherhood.
other people. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Okay, so now you're a mom, cut to being a mom. What was, for you guys, the toughest thing the first few months? For me, it was definitely the breastfeeding. I feel like as much as people can tell you about breastfeeding, you don't really ever fully know how, at least for me, like terrible and challenging it is until you're in it. I was like, God, why didn't anybody tell me that it was possible that my nipples were gonna feel like glass shards were slicing through them every second I fed? Like, why didn't anybody prepare me for this? So, what was the toughest thing for you once you guys had your babies?
The very beginning was just the exhaustion. Like
Yeah.
I just remember feeling so tired, and I wasn't quite prepared. I don't think you can prepare yourself. I mean, honestly, your body's going through so many different things. I was just remember being really, really tired. The breastfeeding for me was not as big of a struggle early on. It actually that became a bigger struggle for me later on.
Yeah.
When my milk supply was dropping, it actually became much more stressful at that point for me.
Yeah.
The very beginning was just pure exhaustion. Like I just remember feeling so tired, and then you do kind of, to your point about, you start to kind of look at social media, and then you see everyone with their baby, and it looks so like blissful and whimsical. And by the way, I also posted things like that. All my pictures with me and my newborn are like so blissful, and it's kind of funny because I look back at it now and I remember in some of those moments like not actually feeling like that blissful.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it was almost like this mechanism I used too. Like it was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have this like moment, capture this moment, and this is what I want to remember. But inside, it was
That
like,
was not what was actually going on.
I was like kind of struggling with just feeling tired, and then I would cry because I was so happy, and then I would also cry because I was tired, and then I would start crying because I was crying. I was like, I
know those moments. So hormonal.
So it's like you cry because you're tired, then you cry because you feel bad you're crying, and then you're like so happy. So it was so many different emotions.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for me was definitely breastfeeding.
Yeah.
I cried literally every feeding for the first 3 months. I'm now 10 months in,
Way
still
to
exclusively
go.
breastfeeding, and it feels like the biggest accomplishment
amazing.
ever.
Yeah.
But it was so hard. I had no idea that it was going to be as challenging
Like
as it
challenging physically, challenging emotionally, all of it.
was. Both.
yeah.
First of all, you're feeding like every 2 hours, so you're so exhausted. It's killing you. I didn't really like pumping, so like all of the responsibility was totally on me. And then emotionally, I was like, I kind of wanted to give up, but I'd never given up on anything in my life before. And so I felt like I have to persevere. I had this like pressure. I'm like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And so I didn't give myself the room to like allow for supplementing, which in hindsight was probably not the right thing to do. I probably would have alleviated some of the stress had I just been like, it's okay, like let's give a little bit. But I didn't.
Yeah.
And it was now in hindsight, like I said, it's a big lesson. Like with the next one, maybe I would do things differently.
Yeah, I always say that too. Like with the next one, maybe I would do things differently. But it's once you're in that moment, it's so the self-inflicted guilt is is your worst enemy. Like for me, it wasn't about even comparing myself to what other people were doing. It was like only self-imposed. Like if I quit, I'm a quitter. Like I was the hardest person on myself. Timmy was like, just stop. This is making you so unhappy, and you being an unhappy person will have a negative effect on the family as a whole. And I think it's so important that like our mental and emotional state becomes the priority. But I think it's amazing that you've stuck it out and like
I'm very proud of it now.
Yeah, it's a huge feat. It's great. Timmy, how do you feel like how did you take care of yourself during the first couple months of fatherhood? Like, were you even thinking about yourself? How were you thinking about, like, what were your priorities? Like, what were those few months like for you? Because I feel like we forget sometimes about the father in the first few months.
Yeah, like that's okay. Like, you know, you had such a tough time breastfeeding, and all the things you guys were talking about were so tough that like I didn't. You know, I think maybe I went and played like golf a couple times and like took 4 hours to not think about what was going on. But it wasn't really like a time where I was supposed to like be taking care of myself. Like I was supposed to be taking care of you guys. So there wasn't like a ton of that going on.
Right.
But just like back to the breastfeeding thing a little bit, like, I wanted her to stop doing it. Like I didn't understand her drive to continue to do it. And like, you know, what makes sense is what you guys talk about now is mom guilt from like other moms saying like breastfeeding is best, and so you don't want to be a bad mom because that's like the worst thing you could imagine being. But the advice that we got from Ziva, who is a family friend and a child specialist, saying that like the family unit's well-being is the most important thing. So if a third of the family is struggling for the benefit of the other two, it doesn't really work like that. And so that made a lot of sense to me, and I was like, stop doing this. Like, I don't know one adult who you could tell was breastfed or formula fed. So like, what's the difference, you know?
It's true.
So like, I do applaud you for sticking something out, but like, I was just like really hoping Whitney would stop as soon as possible, for her sake and then for all of our sake as a result.
Okay, so just a couple questions. I don't know how we're doing on time, but okay, cool. Okay, so now we're like full-blown moms and dads. How do you guys like juggle your needs with your kids' needs? I know a lot of people ask me like, how do you find the balance between work and being a mom? And I always, I have a hard time with that question because I really don't think there is a perfect balance. And I think like being able to be okay with not having a balance is finding the balance in a certain sense. So like, how are you even able to juggle your own needs? Like, are there days you do and days you don't? Like, some days you feel fulfilled, some days you feel like it's all falling apart, and then that's the balance. Like, how do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, I don't. I definitely don't have balance. I get that question all the time too. I don't. I am very fortunate and very open with people that I definitely have help. I don't think it's possible to work and to raise a child. It was the first 6 months because he would kind of nap and I could like do my emails and do my work while he was napping, and then they just become so much more mobile that it wasn't really fair to either of us, even if it was just something as simple as doing emails. I really couldn't like do that and also care for him in the way that, you know, he deserved. And so now we have someone, you know, every day who's like really there to support. And like, if I'm not home that day, you know, she's there to do something fun, or my husband can kind of work out his work schedule. So that helped a lot. But I always tell people I really don't think that there is a balance. And I think the balance is sort of becoming comfortable with the imbalance of it and accepting that some days I truly feel like a superhero, you know, I'm like, wow, you know, I made it to work and we like launched this product, and then I finger painted with him, and then I made him this meal and it's organic and I feel so good about myself, you know, and it's like you feel so great. And then there are other days and it's 6 o'clock and I'm just like, I'll literally find myself like a little teary, and I'm like, I don't even really know what did I do today? I'm like still in my sweatpants. I didn't really get my work done. I feel like he's upset because we never made it to the park. And so I don't think that there is a balance. I just try to do like something. I kind of have like my own little ritual every day at morning and at night where I really just practice so much gratitude. Like, and I just really tell myself, or like my husband and I will have a conversation about just how like grateful I am for this exact moment in time, because while it's overwhelming, I feel like I kind of feel like the path sort of chose me, and I'm like, this is a moment in time, but I'm so grateful for like my beautiful, perfect, happy, healthy baby, and I have a career I'm really proud of, and I love my husband, and I'm like, life is good, and I'm healthy, so I'm like, I might be a little tired, and I'm like, maybe I didn't get everything I wanted to get done, but I'm just like, I'm really grateful. Like I wanted this. I remember like dreaming of a career and dreaming of a family, and so like how lucky am I that I have that. So I'll deal with the tiredness. Someday I won't be so tired. I don't know when.
I know. I said to Timmy, I was telling you guys this before, I was like, I don't know how I can handle just like being tired all the time. Like, is this what I'm just going to feel like for the rest of my life? Just like always tired. I don't know. People are like, you get used to it, but I don't know how you get used to being tired.
I don't either.
I don't
I have a really hard time answering this question too, because I don't know how you can give 100% to your job, 100% to your husband, 100% to your child, and 100% to yourself. You just can't slice yourself into multiple people. And for me in the beginning, that was really hard, and I had to make some really hard choices, and I've like made the decision to take a step back in my career and put my child first, which, to my point earlier about how hard that was for me when I was pregnant, like what am I going to do? It was, a lot of that was ego versus heart. And no one really talked about that until I was at a dinner and I was like having a panic attack. This is after I had my child, and I was like, I feel like I can't do it all, and I'm so stressed out at work. And I was talking to this mom who happens to be Allie Webb, who started Dry Bar. And she was the first mom who gave me this piece of advice. And I was like, thank you, why don't more moms talk about this? And she was like, you know, I didn't start Dry Bar until my youngest child was 8 years old. And you need to remember that you're gonna have many iterations of your career, but you cannot get this time back with your child. So if being a mom is what is a priority to you in this moment, and you don't feel like you could do it all, like that's okay. Like you're gonna work more so you can buy more things that you don't need, and then like not be with your kid. And I was like, you're right. And it was that permission to take a step back from all of this other stuff, which of course careers are important, and of course I have to work enough to like be able to provide for our family, but I had to choose what I was going to sort of remove a little bit of my life to start to feel like I had more balance.
That's really
I think that's a really, really good point. And I think like just really to the point about the timing, you know, like I remember my dad always saying this too, but like life is really long. So to your point, it's like there's a lot of time for us to be many things and many roles. And you know, sometimes I feel like you kind of like find whatever was sort of meant for you. So it's like there might be a time after you're done having kids, and then it's like, okay, this idea comes to you. Or I think also a lot a lot of times kids inspire different ideas. So you end up feeling, exactly. This is a perfect
obviously,
example.
like this a bundle happened obviously a little bit before me, but this like new iteration of it came from like what we feel we needed in our lives at this phase. And so I never thought that I would have something like this, and so it's so cool. All right, so now a little bit into like nutrition and exercise, just because obviously this is what this is all about. Like, how did nutrition and exercise play a role in your pregnancy and now being a mom? And how do you find the time for that? Because I know I follow you guys, and I know that that's important to you guys. And obviously, this came out a little bit after I was pregnant and breastfeeding. But like, how do you think this would have played a role in your life?
I feel like Jerry's the queen of clean eating. I get all of my advice from you.
Thanks, guys. Well, for me, like finding that time to work out and take care of myself is so important. And so, like, whether that's having my husband watch the baby or getting in 10,000 steps on days that I can't go to the gym and doing like squats on the back of the stroller, which I got from you.
Lots of stroller workouts.
Lots of stroller workouts. Like, your child loves going outside and like bouncing up and down. So you kind of, I feel like there's time to figure that part out. And then if you just grocery shop properly, it makes it easy to like eat really healthy and clean. And when I was pregnant, I was like hyper focused on all of those things just because like you read so much about like all these chemicals lining cereal boxes and in cans, like not even to mention like non-organic food and like what it's doing to hormone imbalances and all the things. So for me, like with smoothies and stuff like that, I cut out all of the proteins. I cut out all of the like superfoods for Moon Juice because they all have warning labels on the back of them, not to take them when you're pregnant or breastfeeding.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So
to know that this is a safe thing that you can have, that makes me feel really good.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy that you can't have all those.
I feel like it's easy because that like still is such a huge struggle when you're kind of in a hurry and you're trying to take care of yourself, or if you're out for, I think especially while you're pregnant, you're out for long days and then you don't want to just like get the quick food, you know, that you would normally like maybe get when you weren't pregnant. It's like, oh, it's no big deal, but then you want to like feel like you're nourishing your body with the best nutrients.
That
I think
actually
that's why it's so helpful.
Yeah. No, I mean, the amount of times that I actually sit down for a meal these days is slim to none.
I used to make fun of my mom. My mom's here. I used to make fun of her growing up because she would like always eat standing up, and I was like, Mom, just like sit down and eat. And then yesterday, we're both on my counter, and my baby's on my counter. We're all on the counter. We're just all standing up eating. And I was like, look at me. I'm just,
turned into
I'm doing exactly
my mom still doesn't sit down for dinner when dinner is served.
I'm just like, sit down.
She's here somewhere, I think, tending to Sunny.
I love that we've got our mom. She's probably running around her Sunny.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just like having that is really helpful. But I think also to the point about the workouts, like I really love working out. I mean, I loved working out before having my baby. I loved it while I was pregnant. It is like just personally my way of when I am having a really bad day, like sort of coping. It gets energy out. I just feel like I'm not as cranky.
Especially
and it's really
after just
helpful.
having a baby when you like have extra weight, you don't feel good,
like,
and you want to just try to feel a
need
little
to
bit
do
better. Like
watch
struggling with the breastfeeding, you're struggling with everything else.
Yeah.
It's like one way to better.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like one thing that just kind of lifts you up. But I just like made my baby part of it. And to this day, I think because I did it when he was starting so little, it's like this fun thing now. I'm like, oh, hey, we're going to go to the gym. I have this like little room in my house that I made the gym. And I was like, we're going to the gym. And he's like, the gym. And he's like sprinting to the gym. And he has like his own little baby weights. And so I got him some like gym toys.
He's excited about it. Yeah.
He's excited. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not doing like an hour workout. It's like 20 minutes, you know, if he's in the room as our max. But yeah, it's actually perfect. And it's fun, and we just like make these little baby workouts, and like
really
I'll do it, or like I'll go if he's like not really having it in the gym that day. I'll just like put him in a stroller and do like squats, or like we'll go to coffee, and then I'm like literally doing like leg lifts on the stroller. You know, it's just like okay, squeezed it in.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll take him on a long walk if we feel like we're not going to have time for a workout. Then we'll walk to the farmer's market instead of driving. Right. Yeah, there's like little ways you can fit it in if you don't have time. Yeah. Okay, last question. What is something no one ever tells you about being a mom or a dad that either you wish they would have told you, or any nugget of advice that you can give to anybody out there, like thinking about becoming a mom or dad? I know that's vague, but you don't have to start.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I don't have any advice because like we have no idea what we're doing, you know. But I was thinking today, I was with Sunny, and like I wanted him to sit next to me just because like I wanted to, you know, like be close to him, and like he didn't want to do it. And I had to stop myself and be like, all right, maybe being a good dad is about like letting him do what he wants to do and not really like what I want him to do. And I guess that sounds kind of like simple, but you know, that's sort of what I try and keep in the back of my mind at all times. Is like, what would he want over what I want?
Like
you know?
allowing
Like a
him to be
larger
independent.
Yeah, like stop
if he
being
wants
selfish for.
doesn't want to be a doctor, like you maybe want him to be.
Exactly, like release that. You know, that might be tougher than like scooting him closer to me or like playing or like getting to the end of the book, you know, but I just try and constantly remind myself of that.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I think so, and I think all even to like our point of all of sort of the hard things that you go through and like all the hurdles that I still am currently going through and adjusting. But I think like with that said, I do have a lot of moments where I think, oh, you know, this is hard, but I like myself, I like my life, I like my partnership, I like who I'm becoming so much more than who I was before I became a mom. And I think sometimes that's like a good reminder to myself too, that even when I'm kind of going through these hiccups, like I feel like this was so meant for me and I feel so at home as his mom. And that part of it is so rewarding to me, you know? So there's so many hard things and so many things that change. And like, of course I miss my alone time sometimes and all of that. But I don't know that I was like necessarily prepared for sort of like the joy I felt in the new direction, if that makes sense. Whereas I had a lot of fears, even during my pregnancy, of like a lot of what we talked about, of like, how will I adjust in my career, and will I be a good wife, and will I be just even a good daughter and a good friend, and all of those things. And while I might have less time, I really do like the person that I'm becoming, and I'm so inspired by him that I feel like I still wouldn't trade it, if that makes sense.
Totally, 100%.
It's funny that you say that because I was thinking a lot about that question on the way here, which is like a long way for where I came from. And I feel like so much that you read about being a mom, especially on social media, are like complaints, like, oh, I'm so tired and it's so hard and da 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 da. And like for me, like I love being a mom, and I've never felt more peaceful and I've never felt more content. And like I think it's okay, like the same advice Allie Webb gave to me, which I wish someone had said to me a while ago, and I wish more people said, like, it's okay to take steps back for this short period of time to really like enjoy motherhood, because it does go so fast. I know Lauren's mom's here and Whitney's mom's here, and they're probably like, how are you guys moms now? Like my mom feels the same way. So yeah, I just wish more people would talk about how much they love it without the but. I know I love my baby, but like for me, I wish there was just like so much more positivities around like motherhood. I think it's
and focused on the great.
On the good, not in like a stick your head in the sand kind of way, just in like a, it's okay to like not try to be everything and be everywhere, and just like be present for your child.
And the conversation around it. And I think like that's what's so, there are the comparisons on social media, but at the same time, like what I've loved about it is that conversation. So it's like you can talk about your really, really happy days, and I love that you'll like share these like really sweet selfies with Sunny, and it's like, you know, fun things. And then we also have really honest conversations about like, gosh, this, you know, my boobs hurt today, and I'm, you know, so it's, I think that part of it is really special, and something that like our moms didn't have, you know, they had a lot of books, but like even things like right here today, like how cool is this that we can do it, and then if you're not here, that we can stream it and people can watch it later. And it's just, I think having that conversation is, for me, been really helpful, just to be able to find like a part of my journey in someone else's. So it's like we each have our own journey, but then I find comfort in just knowing that like we all have a journey, you know, so like we all have different journeys, but there's this comfort in knowing, okay, there's good days and there's bad days, and I'm not the only one.
And no one's going to judge you. Like there's a safe space where no one's going to judge you for it. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. I mean, thank you guys so much for tuning in at home, and thank you guys all for being here. Check out our new products bundle. Thanks. Thank you guys.